nightmare. Hey y'all. Hey, I just wanted to take a minute and say thank you very much for coming over and subscribing, and your likes and your comments. They've been really nice and funny, so thank you. So now on to the giveaway. The giveaway is going to happen on Friday, May 12th. Friday, May 12th at 8 o'clock p.m. One more time, Friday, May 12th, 8 o'clock p.m., and that's going to be Mountain Time. Alright, 8 o'clock p.m., Mountain Time, 12th of May. It's a fucking Friday, okay? Be there, get your shit if you win. Alright? Okay, and by the way, you still have time to enter that shit. Just go to my last video and follow the instructions on there. I'm not going to tell you twice. Alright, on with the fucking show. Enjoy it. Was I receiving a warning all this time? I'm pretty convinced. Written and submitted by Small Asian Ginger. I know this all sounds so far-fetched, especially when you get to the last paragraph, but I swear it happened. I commented the first part of this experience on someone's post a while back, and the rest of it happened afterward. This all took place between July 2022 and February 2023. Rural community, cute subdivision, not a place where weird stuff happens, really. We, a 32-year-old female and male, and a 10-year-old female and male, bought our new house this past July from a retired minister and his wife. As soon as we started moving in, we noticed a weird bumping and thumping coming from the master bedroom closet shortly before sunset every evening. At this time, we were all sleeping on mattresses in the living room waiting for our furniture to be moved. We had just sold our respective houses and were combining households. We had a plumber come check things out to make sure it wasn't just pipes thumping. It wasn't. We moved our furniture in over the next few weeks, and life continued as normal. We still heard the thump from upstairs, but it sounded like an animal jumping down off something high, and noticed other odd things happening. The light in our entryway in our garage would randomly be turned on some days when we got home, so we decided to install cameras in front of our entries to see if maybe someone had our access coded entry, no key, to the front door and was stopping by for whatever reason. We also had a friend who's an electrician check out the wiring to make sure that, everything looked okay. No electrical issues, no visitors. One night, my partner was away at work on night shift, and I was sitting on the couch watching TV while my son slept upstairs. Stepdaughter was at her mom's for the evening, and I kept seeing little, flashes coming from in front of the oven. I thought maybe there was a car passing by on the main road, so I checked the doorbell camera and nothing had driven by. Then I decided maybe the oven light was just flickering or something. So I watched the oven for a minute to see if it would come on. And instead, I saw what looked almost like blue linen move from one side of the doorway to the other. Then the noises started. First, I heard the thumping coming from upstairs in the master bedroom. Then, the dining room. Then, the kitchen, the entryway, and back up the stairs. I texted my partner and said, "Something's going on in the house, and either I'm losing my mind or some weird shit is going on, but I'm feeling like I'm under attack," and asked him to come home. In the meantime, I went upstairs to my bedroom with both my cats and waited. The house started to hum in a way that just made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. It was like, I don't know, static electricity had filled the air. And then I heard a snap. And for a split second, I saw my grandmother, who had passed a few years back, standing on the foot of my bed. She was wearing a blue linen top and pants. This detail is important, but I didn't know it at the time. And I was terrified, so I called out, "Enough!" And it was gone. The air calmed down, the anxiety left, the house was quiet. I immediately messaged my cousin and said, "Holy shit, dude. I think I just saw Nanny in the house and I need you to tell me that I'm not fucking nuts," and described what I'd seen, to which she sent me a photo of her and said, "This outfit?" and told me it was the outfit my grandmother had been buried in. I didn't attend the visitation prior to the funeral because I lived hours away at the time, and I had just moved back to my hometown in July, so I didn't know this. My partner came home around 11:30 p.m. and laughed at me because I'd sweat my entire body outline into our sheets. I told him what happened, and we changed the sheets and sat up for a while, being reasonably freaked out, and then we just went to bed. The next morning, I thought I'd gone bonkers, so I messaged a medium my friend recommended, and we met a couple weeks later. She told me that she felt my grandmother was coming around to try and warn me about something and to stay alert. That was in December. 2 months later, the next time my son and I were the only ones in the house, we were woken up shortly after midnight to the neighbor kicking our front door in and screaming for us to get out because our house was burning down with us inside it. The fire marshals inspected after the fire was out and told us there was an issue with the chimney, and evidence that every time we'd started a fire in our wood stove, when it started getting cold around November, there was more than likely a small fire smoldering in our walls, drying out the wood until eventually it dried hot enough to catch fire inside the wall and burn through. No one will ever convince me that she wasn't there to try to tell me and to warn us. Everyone survived. The house burnt to the ground, and it was the most terrifying experience of my entire life. The original poster actually gave me 3 pictures of her house after the fire. They also gave me an EVP of their son speaking to somebody at 3 a.m. I was told one voice is her son, the other voice is not her or anybody else in the home. Something cool happened when I was a kid. Written and submitted by K4W44K4R1. I tried telling my friends this years ago, but of course nobody believed me, so I figured I'd come on here and get it out, because as weird as it seems, it's actually really cool. At least it is to me. I'll try to keep this short because I know not everyone loves reading paragraphs upon paragraphs, though I don't know if keeping it short will be too successful. There's a lot to this story. So when I was about, 5 or 6, of course, I wasn't old enough to really have a full recollection from then, so parts of this are from my mother's perspective. I used to sit on the stairs in my house and talk to this girl. She looked to be about the same age as me, and we just talk. I don't remember what about, but my mom said that I told her she was wearing a Victorian-style dress. Now, as a 5-year-old, I don't think I'd know what one of those is, but I suppose we move on. Anyway, her name was Elizabeth, and upon further investigation from my dad, it turned out there was a little girl who lived in my house years back. She drowned in a pond nearby. Now, this is a little weird, but nobody in the house got a negative feeling about her, so I was allowed to keep in contact with her. I also think it was her who'd play with her, well, my brother and I's toys. Like one time, I remember very well we were sat having dinner on Christmas morning, and my brother had his remote control to his new car on the table. The table was on the floor outside the kitchen door. Well, out of nowhere, the car just moved. And at first it was just a little move, about a foot. But then we all looked at my brother, who had both his hands on the bowl of soup rather than on the controller. So we just laughed about it, saying, "Beth's back." And it seems that was basically us giving her permission to continue. Because the next thing we know, it's driving up and down the hallway between the front door and the living room. Our house, though, wasn't all happy memories. My brother had a portal in his room. We found this out only after we had left, which caused him to have frequent nightmares of 3 men. One with scars all over him, one with no legs, and one with big hands. I don't really understand why these men had the appearances that they did, but I'm not about to start questioning it now. Anyway, he'd frequently wake up screaming, saying things like he had big hands that were over his face so that he couldn't breathe, or that he was bleeding from all over the scars that he had all over his body. Of course, he wasn't bleeding, but he certainly felt the pain as if he were bleeding. This, I think, is the main reason that we moved. We've not been in that house for, 14 years now, and my brother really hasn't had any other nightmares of him, except when we first moved, he was screaming about big hands, but after that, really nothing happened. Now, my parents did some research once we left, and they told us our old house was built on top of a graveyard. I'm not sure how true that is, and I haven't looked it up myself. But if it's true, I think I understand why those male spirits of sorts were so angry. That's it, really. My mom saw a lot of faces in the walls after we had moved into our current house, but she got rid of them eventually with some help of her friend. And really, since then, we've had nothing. Well, thank you for reading. With potential doom looming over the horizon as AI sets into control how we live, I figured, well, the world's burning, what the hell? Grab the marshmallows. So, before it can bring Skynet down on us, I decided to play a little and prompt AI to write a few horror stories in a new series that I like to call ChatGPT Terror. Mine forever. John had always been a solitary man, preferring his own company to socializing with others. When he inherited his grandmother's old house in the countryside, he saw it as a chance to live the quiet life that he'd always dreamed of. The house was large and run down, but John had a vision of what he could do with it. As he unpacked his belongings, John noticed a strange feeling of being watched. He shook it off, telling himself that he was just adjusting to his new surroundings. Over the next few days, John began to experience strange occurrences around the house. Doors would open and close on their own. He could feel a cold breeze in certain areas. He even saw the faint outline of a figure at the corner of his eye. He just dismissed the experiences as his imagination, convincing himself that he was just adjusting to the new environment. A few weeks into his move, he decided to have a few friends over for a housewarming party. As he was getting ready, he felt a sudden sense of unease. As his guests arrived, they were immediately put off by the house's atmosphere. They felt a sense of impending doom and unease. As they were settling in, one of the women mentioned that she felt like somebody was watching her. John tried to reassure her that it was just her nerves, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. As the night progressed, strange things began to happen. Glasses broke on their own, doors slammed shut, and the footsteps could be heard in the hallway. One of John's friends wanted to use the bathroom, but he soon returned, looking white as a sheet, and claiming that he had saw a figure in the mirror. As the night drew to a close, John's guests quickly made their excuses and left the house, grateful to be away from its eerie atmosphere. None of them ever returned, and John found himself, once again, alone in the house. A few nights later, John was woken up by the sound of footsteps outside his bedroom door. As he reached for the door handle, he felt a sudden cold breeze, and the door was forcibly slammed shut. John felt a sense of panic as he realized that he was not alone in the room. He turned to look and saw the faint outline of a figure standing in the corner, staring at him. The figure became clearer. John could see that it was a woman. Her long, dark hair covered half her face, and her eyes were an icy blue. She was wearing a long, flowing dress, but John couldn't place the era that it belonged to. The woman revealed herself to be a ghost who had been trapped in the house for years and had never found peace. The ghost was revealed to be named Emily, and she quickly became obsessed with John. He found the attention flattering at first, but as time went on, he realized that Emily's obsession became dangerous. Any woman that came into the house was met with hostility from Emily, who would violently attack out of jealousy. But no police or authorities investigated the incidents because it had been made to look like accidents. Emily's jealousy began to extend beyond just female guests. John found that he couldn't even talk about other women without Emily becoming enraged. She would appear in his dreams, and when John woke up, he'd be covered in deep, long scratches that he just couldn't explain. At first, John tried to reason with Emily, but as her obsession grew, he realized that there was no reasoning with her. He decided to leave the house. Emily knew that if John left, she would never have him for herself, and she would be truly alone forever. One night, John woke up and he could feel Emily's breath on his face. He tried to move, but he found out that he was paralyzed. Emily revealed that she had taken his life so that they could be together in the afterlife. John had become another victim of Emily's obsession, doomed to spend eternity trapped in the house with her. The house was eventually abandoned, and years later, rumors circulated about the strange occurrences that had taken place inside. Some even claimed to hear John's screams echoing throughout the abandoned halls, a chilling reminder of the horrors that still lurked within. Bloodlust. I never thought this would be my life. living as a werewolf. It's as if I'm constantly walking a tightrope, teetering between man and beast. But tonight, as I lie here in bed with this woman I met online, I feel the animal within me stirring. I know what I must do, even though it fills me with a sense of dread and remorse. She has no idea that I'm not human. I'm a creature of the night. She thinks that we're just two people who had a great date and now we're getting to know each other better. Little does she know, she's about to become my prey. I feel the hunger inside me, an urgent need to feed. I know that I should resist. I know I should let her go. But I feel powerless to this bloodlust. As we make love, I can feel my senses heightening, my teeth growing sharper, my claws extending. I can even hear her heartbeat racing. I try to tell myself that I can stop, I can resist the urge to devour her. But as the moment draws near, I know that it's impossible. This is what I am, a predator, and she is my prey. As I shift into my true form, I can see the fear in her eyes. She tries to scream, but I clamp my jaws around her throat, snuffing out the sound. The taste of her flesh is exhilarating, but at the same time it fills me with a sense of guilt and remorse. I try to hold on to the last glimmers of my humanity as I feast on her flesh, but soon the animal within me takes over completely. I tear into her, ripping flesh and bone apart until there is nothing left but scraps of meat and blood. As I lie there, exhausted and spent, I feel a sense of emptiness that fills me to the core. I know what I've done is wrong, abhorrent even, but I cannot help myself. This is how I survive, how I hunt. As I shift back into my human form, I can feel tears streaming down my face. I know that I've given into this bloodlust once again, and that I am doomed to repeat the cycle of pain and sorrow, forever trapped between my human side and my animalistic cravings. Thank you for being a part of this living nightmare. We hope to disturb you again soon.